See it spinning. We're live. Hey guys. Okay, we're here for a special coffee chat today with Linda Lederman. And I know you guys always talk to me about cooking, about meals, mealtime struggles. So I brought the expert on to really help us today. And Linda, just tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Sure. Right now, I'm a kitchen confidence coach, and I help women with meal planning, meal prep, cooking, and getting dinner on the table with lots of games and fun. My background is I started off as a lawyer and a terrible, terrible cook, and my family used to ban me from cooking at events. I'm not one to be deterred, so I did a lot of studying. I took a lot of courses. I went to a lot of events to learn cooking, and now I have over 1,000 cookbooks, and I'm the go-to home when people want great food.
Wow, 1,000 cookbooks. So you don't let anyone keep you down when they banned you from the kitchen.
I don't follow a recipe for the most part.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that what you teach others? Do you start with a recipe, or do you just kind of teach people how to cook intuitively?
Well, you have to get to the intuitive part. So you have to start with the recipe, learn what flavors taste like, learn what flavors go together, what you can combine, what you can substitute. Because sometimes when you're cooking in a hurry and you think you know what you want to make, and you open up your refrigerator or your freezer or your pantry and you're missing some of those ingredients.
Yeah.
And now you can't follow a recipe and you panic. So part of intuitive cooking is knowing what you can substitute.
I love this. Okay, for anyone hopping on, let us know you're here. I'll be watching the comments. Say hi. Let us know where you're from. And also, if you're watching the replay, I wanted to say #replay with any questions you have. Let us know as we're going through this with Linda. A lot of times, I know, Linda, that when I talk with women, their biggest struggle is like, where do we start? It's just overwhelm in the kitchen. What would you suggest?
The first thing you need to do is know what you have, because sometimes we go to the grocery store and, oh my God, do I have minced garlic? I don't know. I guess I'll need to buy it. You end up with 5 minced garlics in your pantry and you don't know what to do with it. So the first thing you need to know is what you have. The next thing you need to know is what to do with it. Because you could have those 5 jars of minced garlic and not know what to do with it at all. So you don't want to be a one-hit wonder with your ingredients. Don't buy something and just know you can use it for one recipe. First of all, that's never the case. But if you only know how to use it for one recipe, you are going to be really bored with that recipe in no time at all. So it's know what you have, know what you need, know how to use it, and know when to use it.
Okay, so where do we begin with someone said hi? Let us know who you are so we can chat with you. Yeah, give us any questions. So where do we start?
I would start with, you kind of can work backwards, you can work forwards. If you want to work backwards, you can say, I know these handful of recipes. And if those are the ones you want to start with and get to be better at them and use them as really quick go-to recipes, then figure out what you need to make those recipes and make sure you have them. Another thing you can do is say, let me have a basic pantry, refrigerator, freezer list of staples I should have on hand. And I actually have for your audience, and you'll give them the link later, a handy dandy handout called—
Oh, that's a great idea.
Called Quick Dinner Time Sanity Saving Tips. And in it, I give suggestions of pantry staples, refrigerator staples, and freezer staples, because you can cook on the fly if you have ingredients.
Okay, so having the foundation is important.
Right. Now for me, and everybody's taste is different. Everybody's pantry needs are different. Their space requirements are different. But some basic things that I think people could have in their pantry and refrigerator are, I always have minced garlic. I always have fresh garlic. I always have fresh ginger. You can buy blends if you don't want to make them. You can buy taco blends. You can buy Italian seasoning blends. You can buy Indian blends. That's one way to do it and save pantry space if you're really tight on space. Or you can buy the underlining ingredients that make them up. such as cumin or coriander, and make your own blends. So you could have them as the individual seasonings plus your own blends. So if you're really, really in a hurry, for instance, tonight, I'm in a real hurry tonight because my kids are going crazy. So what I'm going to do is make a chicken tikka masala. And it sounds exotic and it sounds like, oh my God, that's going to take forever. That's going to be done in 15 minutes. And you say, how the heck are you making an Indian dish in 15 minutes? Well, several ways. You can buy a tikka masala sauce from Trader Joe's or your local grocery store in the international section. And you don't have to make everything from scratch to make it healthy and delicious. Just take a look at the ingredients. You don't want a ton of salt. You don't want a ton of fat, but look at the jar. Some of them are really delicious. So for my tikka masala, since I'm not going to be making it from scratch tonight, I'm going to be sauteing some ginger, some garlic, some onions. I'm going to take my chicken breast, which I haven't defrosted yet. And you're going to say, well, how are you making chicken if you're not defrosted your chicken breasts yet? You can take frozen meat in basically 1 pound quantities and put them in cold water, not hot water, cold water. And in a half hour, change the water, more cold water. And in an hour, odds are, if it was a pound of meat or protein, it's going to be defrosted. So yes, I know you're supposed to defrost in the refrigerator, and that's definitely healthier and safer. But in a pinch, like I will be, since I haven't done it yet, you can defrost your pound of flesh literally in some cold water. So
I always do cold water. Yeah.
Right?
I didn't know
It's
the refrigerator is necessarily healthier. Just make sure it's cold water.
Yeah, it's got to be cold. It's got to be cold.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to have these chicken breasts, and I really want to do this fast because my kids are going to be hungry and they're going to be impatient. So instead of cooking the chicken breasts whole, I'm going to slice them because chicken will cook quicker if you cube it or if you slice it and make it into smaller pieces. There's more surface area to cook, so it's going to cook faster. So you've got the ginger in there, you've got your onions, you've got your garlic. You want to throw in a jalapeno, which is not Indian, but if you want to throw in some heat spice, you can throw that in. Like I said, I'm very flexible. And then I throw in the chicken, brown the chicken, and then throw in your tikka masala sauce, cover it, 10, 15 minutes, you're done. So what are you going to serve with it? Well, you could serve rice, which will also take 15 minutes to cook, and double batch your rice, which means make twice as much as you want. Well, why do I want to have twice as much as I want? Because you're going to take the leftover rice, and another day this week, you're going to make fried rice. Because to make fried rice, you need day-old rice. So cook it while you're cooking the rice. So another meal you have already halfway done coming up is going to be the rice for the fried rice. You can add leftover shrimp, leftover chicken, whatever you want to add to the fried rice when you make it another day. But you're saving time, you're being efficient, and you're almost making 2 meals at the same time.
Okay, so I heard lots of good knowledge in there. The first thing I want to mention is you were talking about garlic, ginger, and seasonings. So when I work with people to heal their relationship with food, intuitive eating is what we call it. We learn how to be intuitive eaters. And so you're helping people learn how to be intuitive cookers. We talk about my favorite, there's 10 principles, and my favorite principle, the hub of intuitive eating, it's a wheel, but the hub of the wheel is called the satisfaction factor. And so many times, many women in this group, this is ditching diets together, right? We come to this group and we're trying to be intuitive eaters. Our history with food has not been the best. And if you think about diets, diet food is not tasty. It's bland, it's gross. And so you're not going to stick with anything, and you're not going to keep cooking if it doesn't taste good. So we talk about adding the satisfaction factor, which many times is these tasty components to the meals. Like you mentioned garlic, you mentioned seasonings. Like there's a couple, you mentioned Trader Joe's. There's a couple I like from Trader Joe's, the everything but the bagel, the everyday seasoning, and it's already blended, so I don't have to think about it. Exactly. That makes cooking easier. And then you mentioned rice. One of the things that I get at Trader Joe's is already cooked frozen rice.
Oh, interesting. I haven't gotten that. They're regular rice, the ones that I buy at Trader Joe's, they're jasmine rice. It's cooked up in 15 minutes. So to me, that's really great. And you could also, instead of using rice, you could use cauliflower rice if you wanted also, but you could also make fried rice with the next day.
I've got some of that in my freezer too. There's also these little wontons at Trader Joe's that I love. Cilantro chicken wonton, I don't know. And I throw those in the air fryer and throw them into my rice. So there's things, we should create a things I love at Trader Joe's list.
It's amazing what you can find there. It really, it's a great store. But seasonings, like you say, seasonings change a meal with almost no effort. So you can take, if you're getting bored of what you're eating for whatever reason, change the seasoning. You can still keep the same thing that you know how to cook. You know how to cook chicken, you know how to cook salmon, but you're really tired of having it all the time. So one night you can use Italian seasons, another night you can use Asian seasonings, another night you can use Mexican seasonings, and you can change the vegetables that go with it. You still know how to cook. You're just changing the seasoning and the flavor profile.
Okay, so we get our basics. We start there in the pantry. How do we move to learn to be more intuitive with our cooking?
Taste. You have to taste things. So if there's a seasoning that you're going to be using in a recipe and you're not so familiar with it, put a dab of it on your finger and taste it. Say, do I like it? Do I think of anything else it can go with? And there are actually plenty of, I want to say traditional flavor profiles, but it's not really traditional because I don't really believe that's true. Like you could ask Italian grandmother A, how do you make this sauce and what do you put in it? And Italian grandmother B, how to make this sauce and what to put in it. And their ingredients are going to be slightly different. So to some extent, you have to learn what you like to taste. And you can only do that as you experiment. So don't be afraid to experiment. There are no flops. I take it back. There's plenty of flops. I've done them myself, but you can learn from them. So one way that I learn from them is when I cook something new or I try a new seasoning and I present it to my kids and my husband, I make them rate it. Is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? What do you like about it? What do you want to change about it? It helps me. It helps them learn what they like to eat and what they like to taste. And it gives me ideas to spark my creativity going forward. If it's really terrible, and I've had plenty of thumbs down because we all have things that don't turn out right, we still eat it, but we put it on the don't make this again list. And we try to figure out why. And it becomes family legend. It's something that we can laugh about. Oh my God, remember the time Mom made fill in the blank. And it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. Nobody's going to die from it, and you're going to learn from it. So you have to start somewhere, and don't be afraid to start.
I think that's it. I think it's fear that holds us back from trying new things with cooking and with food. And I love how you said taste it, because one of the components of intuitive eating and finding food freedom that we're always talking about in this group is mindful eating and stopping to pay attention to what it tastes like. And so many times, if we've been on diets forever and ever, there's meal plans or we have to count, we have to track, we have to measure, we have to weigh. And so like, this is different. This is learning what do you really like? What tastes good to you? And
one of the nice things about cooking as opposed to baking is there's very few right or wrong things to do. Baking is a science you have to measure. I hate it with a passion.
Me too.
I can't do that. And I don't feel creative, and I'm not so neat. So all those things you need to be a baker.
I'm not a baker.
Right? But with cooking, you have creativity, you have room for error. There are ways to fix a mistake if you're cooking, but you have plenty of places to try.
Yeah, you're right. I am not a baker either. I think you're one of the other. Some people in this group I know love to bake, and I think it's because you have to be so precise and so measured. I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm visionary. I love creativity. I hate spreadsheets. Don't tell me everything I bake is a flop. Okay, so here's a good question. What are some simple, easy recipes that we can start with to like build a foundation?
Sure. Well, that chicken tikka masala is really simple. You prep it in 5 minutes and then you cook it for 15. So that's a really good one. If you're being willing to try some creativity, one of the go-to things I make for my family that's very, very adaptable that my kids just, I can't make enough. I always think I'm making enough to freeze some, and there's nothing to freeze. I make Asian meatballs, and you can make it with either pork, you can make it with turkey, you could make it with meat, but it's not as interesting. But I make it with turkey because it's a little healthier to make it with turkey, and it's simple. You just take ginger, garlic, again, those staples that you want to have ready. You can add some soy sauce. If you're gluten-free, add tamari or coconut aminos. They all taste the same. So just get which works for you. Throw in a little bit, you can throw in fish sauce and toasted sesame oil. And that's pretty much it. Blend it up, make your meatballs, and I bake them because I don't like the splatter on my stove. I don't like messes. You can put parchment paper on the sheet pan that you're going to be cooking them on. So the cleanup is really, really simple. Bake them for 15 minutes. You can throw in scallions in it. You can be creative, whatever you want to add to these meatballs, and take them out. You can serve them on rice noodles, which take 5 minutes to put in hot water, and they're done. So you can add either a peanut sauce or a tahini sauce to that, which is just peanut sauce, peanut butter, a little bit of toasted sesame oil, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of ginger. That's it. Throw it on the hot noodles. It'll blend into it right away. Put your meatballs on it. That's number one. If you want to be a little carb conscious, instead of putting
well, we're not carb conscious in this group. Good. You don't have to worry about that. We are ditching diets over here.
So then another an alternative interesting way to eat it. You can put it on a bib lettuce. And now you have a lettuce wrap with the meatballs on it. You can make a little Asian coleslaw and put it on there as well, which is absolutely amazing. Steam some bok choy or saute some bok choy with either some soy sauce or ginger and garlic. You've got a great meal in under 20 minutes. So meatballs, Asian meatballs, and they freeze really well. If your family doesn't gobble it up like mine does, it's a real great thing to freeze also, and then you just defrost them on a busy night. Another thing
there's a couple things I want to stop you for a second.
Okay.
Because it's like a lot to inhale, like a lot of information. And I know some people in this group might have questions about some of the things that you just threw out. You said, and I love cooking, so all those things, I was tracking with you. I was right there. But some people might be like, what's soy sauce, tamari, or coconut aminos? Okay, she said they're all the same things.
They're all equal substitutes. One doesn't have gluten, one has gluten in it. So if you're gluten sensitive, don't go with soy sauce, but you can have tamari because it gives you a similar flavor profile without the wheat.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I wanted to clarify, because we might have people in here with sensitivities. So they can make an Asian meatball, but they can take the meatballs, separate them, you're saying, and then make a different flavor and freeze them so they have something else for later.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I know that probably the hardest meal, we don't have any questions yet, but I know, you guys, the hardest meal is usually breakfast and or lunch for people. So do you have any guidelines or help for people that struggle with breakfast and lunch?
Lunch is really easy because it's a great way to use your leftovers differently. So if you're making a roast chicken, or if you bought a roast chicken and you have leftover chicken for lunch, take some romaine lettuce leaves. You can make a Caesar salad dressing, or you can buy a dressing that you like, or a vinaigrette that you can make. I like to make a bunch of vinaigrettes and have them in my refrigerator because then again, I get to change up my flavor. So I'd have an orange miso dressing. I would have a vinaigrette. I would have a honey mustard dressing. But obviously, whatever you like to have, you can add it to the salad and put your chicken on it. You can do the same thing. Take those Asian meatballs, put them in a bun with some Asian coleslaw. You've got a phenomenal hero sandwich or sub, or whatever your area calls those kinds of sandwiches, a grinder. But that's a great way to do it. You can also take mayonnaise and add a little sriracha or chili paste. And now you have that wonderful pinkish colored sauce you get when you order spicy sushis. And you put that on
Mm.
your meatballs and you put that on a roll. Bingo, bango, you've got an amazing dish. And it's just leftovers.
You know, one thing I had last night that I love too is I like mixing barbecue sauce and sriracha.
Oh,
That's a
that's
good
great.
flavor factor is what we call it. So, any ideas of how we can repurpose? And you just gave us one idea with the hero sandwich. But there any other ideas of how you can repurpose a meal that you have for dinner and turn it into another meal for lunch the next day?
Oh, sure. You can do it with anything. So yes, you can put everything on a salad. That's really easy. You can put something on zucchini noodles, which, you can buy them
Mhm.
spiralized already, which is not my favorite because they usually go bad by the time you bring it to your refrigerator. For some reason, mine don't last me very long. So I just prefer to do it on the fly. But you can put something over zucchini noodles with a pesto. If you have pesto as one of your pantry staples, your refrigerator staples, put that over zucchini noodles, cold or hot. You can do it either way, and it's incredibly refreshing. You have some tomatoes that are going bad, make a gazpacho, throw some feta cheese into it. All you're doing is putting all your ingredients in the blender. In 3 minutes, it's done. So it's a really great, easy lunch.
Okay, I always have pesto. I have pesto in my fridge now because I used it in pasta last week I roasted some tomatoes and put pesto and made a pasta dish.
That's really
So,
good.
okay.
You could also, if you have cauliflower and you're roasting a cauliflower, put pesto on it when it comes out of the oven, and the pesto will melt into the cauliflower. Tremendous flavor. Tremendous.
Mm, mm. Okay, so I can't say this enough to people in the group that the important thing, I think they get so hung up with meals. It's like you freeze, and you just don't do anything. And because maybe you're thinking like it has to be this or it has to be, we get in what I call diet brain sometimes, and we
Hmm.
revert back to like, I don't have anything, or, it has to be healthy or whatever. And it's like, it doesn't matter. What matters more than health is that you're having regular, reliable meals. I talk about that with maintaining the blood sugar. Are you going hours without eating? Are you having breakfast? Are you somebody just said that's me. If you share with StreamYard, we could see your whoever this is. But yeah, I know that's a lot of people. And so don't get hung up on the health factor so much as making sure you're getting a meal on the table and you're eating it, because regular, reliable meals is where you start. That is more important for your blood sugar. And we have a lot of families in here too. Your children will eat if you do. They model after you. So I don't know if you have any advice on this, Linda, but would love
Yes,
to hear your
your
take.
children will definitely model what you're eating, how you approach your food. I had a mother who was dieting her whole life, and obviously that would affect me. She would always make herself something separate. And you don't really want to be cooking different meals for everybody in your family. You don't have the time, you don't have the energy. Most people don't have the budget to do that or the desire. So you really want to make something that everybody's going to want to eat. I found that, remember when I talked about how we rated the food, if you engage your children in the process, they're more likely to try it because they have a say. When you're also trying to think about what you want to make for the week, if you want to do some meal planning, ask your family, what do they like to eat? What are they willing to try? Hey, what if we go to the farmer's market or the grocery store and buy something we've never seen and have no idea what to do with? And hey, kids, can you find me a recipe for this? All of a sudden, I find my daughter looking online. Oh, mom, I'm going to make dinner tonight. I saw something on TikTok. Whoa. Okay. But, you want that enthusiasm for your family when it comes to food. Another thing that I find that I like to do is there are really silly, crazy, sometimes ridiculous holidays every day of the year. I'm not talking religious, I'm just talking silly, like National Hamburger Day. So you can find out, and on my side, I promote some of the different wacky holidays. Find out what the holiday is during your week and make something in that theme. And usually I tell people, I give them suggestions, what you can make and what you can talk to your family about. So I'll give you a quick example and it'll tie it up, I promise. So there was a marketing company in California, and on the top of their building, they had this huge half chicken, half boy statue. I mean, it was huge. It was like you could see it for miles. And either they moved or they went out of business and they were going to demolish the building. And the townspeople were up in arms. You can't get rid of Chicken Boy. You can't get rid of Chicken Boy. And they bought the damn statue and made it a holiday, Chicken Boy Day. And it actually exists in September. So on that day in September, we celebrate Chicken Boy in our house. We're not from California. We've never even seen the statue. But what we do is we make a creative chicken dish, and then we talk about things like, well, who is your superhero? If you wanted to say something from your childhood, like the statue, what would you save and why? What kind of thing would you want to hand down for your kids to have? So in answer to your question, if you have an engaging conversation with your kids at mealtime, the food's going to taste that much better, and they're likely to eat it.
I grew up with meals around the table every single night, and I think that makes a difference. Not only regular, reliable meals, but getting your family at the table. Yeah. And so important. Eating, like, I know, like you mentioned, like salt and fat and stuff. I say getting everybody into the table to have whatever meal it is you can put down is more important than that. That can come later. You know, yep. we call it gentle nutrition. Mm-hmm. So when we're ditching diets, we're trying to heal our relationship with food again. And the first thing is just to get to the table with your family and have a meal, and that develops a habit. Then as you heal your relationship with food, and you know, no one food is better than another, it's just food, you can start to think about, okay, well, what foods make me feel better than others? And kind of as you heal that relationship with food, you can make better choices, but just get to the table and have something with your kids is the first step. So that's really important. And another thing you mentioned was involving your kids in the process. So anything you would want to say about that? How can kids get involved?
I started my kids cooking when they were very young, and we started really simple with scrambled eggs. And it empowers them. And all of a sudden they realize, wow, A, I know how to make something. B, I know how to add flavor to it now, and what I like and what I don't like. Are they going to add Italian seasonings to it? Are they going to add cheese to it? Are they going to add onions to it? There's a million things that they could start to learn. Don't be afraid to let your kids help you, because again, it doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be pretty or healthy, like you say. You just want them to learn to be comfortable around food, and engaging them when they're young and letting them cook really helps. And I'll give you an example of that. Two things. So I have a son who's a freshman, just finished his freshman year in college, and he had his girlfriend over, and I'll make you breakfast, he said. And all of a sudden he's making turkey bacon, and he's making her an omelet, and he's making her this, and he's making her that. And then the next night, my daughter, who's a teenager, she's 15, had some friends over. Mom, can you buy the ingredients for pizza? We're all going to make our own pizzas. And her and her friends made their own pizzas for dinner. And it's such, for me, a satisfying thing to listen to. You know, I'm lurking in the background because I don't want to be too obvious while they're doing this. But it's so satisfying to me to see my daughter showing her friends how to be comfortable in the kitchen and make something that they can all sit around and enjoy afterwards.
I love that. And food is one big thing we learn about food in this group is food is connection.
Yep.
So it's not always eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full. Sometimes we eat when we are full because we're around friends and it's connection, and that's okay. And then we move on and we don't dwell on it. So that's kind of the part about having a good relationship with food. And another thing I wanted to bring up, is like food rules. A lot of people develop food rules in this, or they just because they've been on diets their whole life, they might have had these rules and they don't realize it until they start working through this process. And some of the rules are, you know, when you're a child, you got to eat everything on your plate before you can get dessert. And a big part of this process with families, I use a lot of Ellen Satter's model. I don't know if you've heard of her, but getting foods that on a level playing ground, she will suggest to put dessert out with the meal and let the child, but only want one portion, with the meal. Everybody gets their portion, and let the kid decide when he wants to eat dessert, if they want to eat dessert with their food. And that way they don't grow up thinking that one food is over another, or they have to push past fullness to get this food because it's higher on the food chain. And then they think they get this almost like, I have to overeat my plate to get the brownie. Not if it's all there in front of you. And then you don't grow up thinking brownies are something you can't have, or overeating what's on your plate. So it helps actually with their hunger fullness cues to put it all out for them. One
That's a great
serving.
idea.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I just thought maybe we could wrap this up with talking about some favorite recipes and put a couple of meal ideas together for people. What do you think?
Sure, absolutely. One thing that I love to make that's, again, very quick, because I'm trying to focus on really quick things that everybody's going to enjoy, is make a teriyaki salmon. Take a piece of tin foil, throw your salmon on top of it. You can add the soy sauce or its alternatives that we talked about. Throw a little ginger on it. Some people add a little honey on it if they want to make it a little sweeter. You can add ginger garlic to it and wrap up the tin foil, bake it, and then after 10 minutes, open it up, put it under the broiler for a minute or two so you get that nice crust on it, and you have an amazing salmon dish that you can serve with whatever vegetables and sides you want. You're done in 10 minutes. When the rule of thumb for cooking fish, and again, it's just a rule of thumb, is 10 minutes per inch of the fish. I like mine a little on the rarer side, so I'll probably cook it 8 to 9. If you like it a little more well done, cook it a little bit longer. Again, flexibility is the key, but that's a dinner that cooks in 0 time.
So I have a way that I've learned to cook salmon that I love. I got an air fryer and soyaki sauce. It basically is everything you just said. So back to finding a sauce that has everything in it.
Works.
Yeah, it's at Trader Joe's, and I just brush the soyaki sauce on the salmon, put it in the air fryer. It's 2 things. And then I hit the fish button, and when it comes out, it's crispy on the top, but juicy on the inside. It's perfect every time.
And
So
it's simple to make. And it takes like we said at the beginning, it takes the fear factor out of cooking. Once you have an idea of how to cook something, you can cook anything without any fear. And it's really fearless cooking that you're after. And
I grew up with a lot of casseroles, and, being a dietitian and going to school to learn how to teach people how to be healthier. We think casseroles are not a good thing because they're made with canned soup and that's too much sodium. And now I know kids love casseroles, and casseroles are fine because all of that, the can of soup, in the whole entire dish that can make several servings is not that bad. Yep. And so, I don't demonize stuff like that anymore, but I know some people in this group might. And I'm like, look, make the casserole, the things that kids love, like a tuna noodle casserole, and maybe add some peas in it, or, add a vegetable in there.
It's interesting that you say add a vegetable. So for the chicken tikka masala that I mentioned earlier on, I'm going to slice up some spinach and put it in there because it's, again, 1-pot dish. I don't need to dirty anything else. The the spinach will wilt a little bit and really be delicious in it. And it'll give the dish some nice color and some flavor. So yeah, throw some vegetables in. They usually add to the dish, not detract from it.
Yeah. Okay. So I love all these ideas. You mentioned something that they have, and I have the link to it. I'm going to put it below. Where else can they get these recipes that you're talking about?
Sure. You can check out my website, which is balaboostassecret.com. You can check out, I have an Instagram account, balaboostas.secret. And I have a Facebook group, Easy Weeknight Dinners for Busy Moms.
Ooh, okay. That's good. Easy weeknight dinners for busy moms. I'm joining that. I think I'm already in it. I haven't been active, but I will get in there and check those out. So anything else you want to tell everybody before we jump off today?
Sure. I think what people forget is how important family meals are, not just nutrition wise, but the studies show that your kids are better adjusted, they do better in school, they communicate better, they have better social interactions because they sit down and have a family meal. And if you think about it, most of our memories really revolve around food. The holidays we celebrate, the special events we celebrate are around food, and they become memorable because there's good conversation, there's good food, there's good energy, and there's really no reason why you can't do that for your dinner table every night and I say with ease, speed, yum, and fun, because you can easily make ordinary dinners into extraordinary meals that create lifetime memories and something that your kids can pass down to their kids. And I think that's really important. And in our fast-paced world today, sometimes we forget how important that is.
I love this, Denise. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and just taking time to talk to us today about cooking. And I'll be sure to put in the comments below so people can see how they can reach you. And if you haven't already hopped over, get on her Facebook group.
I'd love to see you in my groups. I do one-on-one coaching as well, so I can do virtual cooking lessons wherever you are. Happy to help you and happy to work with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Wendy.
Bye,
this is really great.
Awesome.